Every day, thousands of tourists crowd the streets of Naples, basking in the romance and history of this centuries-old Italian city. But just down the road lies a sleeping monster. At nearly 4,200 feet, the volcano Vesuvius dominates the landscape. It has erupted at least 100 times in the past 10,000 years.
The whole area, the whole Bay of Naples, is very volcanically active, and it will remain so for a long time. The oldest rocks in the area immediately around Vesuvius are 300,000 years old, and there's been a continuous sequence of volcanoes in activity since that time.
2,000 years ago, Vesuvius destroyed a city whose name has become synonymous with disaster, Pompeii. And experts believe that another catastrophic eruption could strike at any moment, leveling Naples and its suburbs, possibly killing as many as 3 million people. Vesuvius is part of the Campanian volcanic arc, which includes other famous Italian volcanoes such as Stromboli and Etna. They were formed as a result of Earth's constant tectonic activity. Vesuvius began life inside another volcano called Somma. But Somma collapsed 18,000 years ago, making Vesuvius the dominant structure. Together, they're known as the Somma-Vesuvius complex.
The end result is that this makes this volcano terrain really quite complex to study, because you've got the older events that are in the vicinity of the newer events.
In predicting what may be brewing beneath the surface of Vesuvius, scientists have an important ally: history. The first-hand accounts of activity at Vesuvius are some of the planet's oldest and most extensive. In fact, volcanology, the study of volcanoes, began with the description of the eruption in 79 AD by the Roman statesman and philosopher Pliny the Younger. The eruption was foreshadowed by a series of earthquakes that hit the area in June and through the next few months. And then, on August 24th, the mountain suddenly came to life.
By midday on the 24th, the volcano had ejected this large column of debris that went up almost 20 kilometers into the atmosphere, spread out, and started to rain volcanic ash and material, mostly of the size of up to about 1 centimeter in diameter.
This episode lasted for about 8 hours, and the deposit was about 10 feet thick.
The ash column shooting up from Mount Vesuvius gradually increased in weight until the atmosphere around the volcano could no longer support it. The plume cloud collapsed suddenly, triggering several deadly avalanches called pyroclastic surges, lethal clouds of ash and gas that, instead of shooting upward, spread off to the flanks of the volcano.
These pyroclastic surges and flows are extremely deadly, and there are very few survivors from these effects. Probably the fraction of survivors is less than 1 in 1,000.
This flood of searing hot ash, toxic gas, and rock raced down the mountain at 150 miles per hour. With temperatures more than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it incinerated everything and everyone in its path instantly.
When the pyroclastic cloud came, they had no way to escape. The death is immediate because you get vaporized.
The skulls exploded through the expansion of the brain and conversion of your body fluids to steam. So it would be a very rapid, perhaps a few tens of seconds or 30 seconds, maybe a minute of actual suffering.
Each subsequent outbreak since 79 AD has had its own unique characteristics. An eruption in the 3rd century created a blast that could easily be heard 25 miles away. Eruptions in 472 and 512 turned day to night and spread dust over many parts of Europe. And 3 separate explosions at the end of the 10th century spewed out heavy lava flow. A volcano that is similar in characteristics to Vesuvius is Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines.
Pinatubo erupted in 1991, and around that volcano there were about 50,000 people in a large American base.
The eruption was preceded by a series of earthquakes in early April 1991. Scientists from the United States Geological Survey immediately began on-site monitoring of Pinatubo. A 6-mile radius danger zone was declared around the volcano. When monitoring instruments indicated that a large eruption was imminent, troops from Clark Air Force Base helped spread the word to the local population. The airmen also coordinated bus and helicopter evacuation operations during a 3-week period. All 50,000 residents were safely transported to shelters. Then, on the morning of June 15, 1991, Mount Pinatubo exploded violently in the largest volcanic eruption in more than 3/4 of a century. The most powerful phase of this cataclysmic eruption lasted more than 10 hours, creating an enormous cloud of volcanic ash that rose more than 116,000 feet high. Thousands of square miles were blanketed by thick, gray soot. But the worst of it were the pyroclastic flows. Hot, toxic gas roared down the slopes of the volcano and filled deep valleys with deposits as much as 600 feet thick. But despite the devastation, there were few casualties.
The eruption of Pinatubo in the Philippines was a very drastic, very large eruption with similar sorts of phenomena that we might expect at Vesuvius. The difference is that at Pinatubo, it was located in a low population region. But for Vesuvius, it's highly populated, and therefore the tragedy associated with even a much smaller eruption of Pinatubo type at Vesuvius would be incredible.
The Vesuvius, we have a much worse situation because we have at least 10 times more people. And the area is surrounded by another 2 million people.
Earthquakes, collapsing buildings, people drowning in ash, deadly gas clouds. In a worst-case scenario, Vesuvius comes to life and threatens to kill an entire population within a matter of minutes.